Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salalo Mokwidiri. The time is 30 minutes past 9, and today is the 8th of December 2025, a date many Syrians are marking with hope, with grief, and with serious questions about what comes next for a country that was torn apart by more than a decade of war. 1 year ago, rebel forces led by Ahmed al-Shara and his movement overran Damascus and ended the rule of Bashar al-Assad, toppling a regime that had dominated Syria for decades. And today, from the capital's Umayyad Square to the streets of Hama, Syrians are gathering, waving new flags, calling for justice, and most importantly, renewal of the country. But behind the celebrations lies a nation still fractured. There's still a lot of sectarian violence, which has surged in some regions. There's been displaced communities that are still awaiting return, and millions still depending on humanitarian aid, and trust in institutions remains fragile. And to help us understand the human side of all this and what everyday Syrians are experiencing, and how the transition in itself has been affecting, some of the most vulnerable within the Syrian communities, and what challenges still remain, I'm pleased to be joined by humanitarian worker Maseeha Saloojee, South African who's been living in Syria and working in Syria for some time now, and she'll be giving us insight on what 1 year since the fall of the Assad regime looks like for the people of Syria. Maseeha, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on Salam Media.
Walaikum salam, rahmatullah. Nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, pleasure's all ours. I think we'll jump right into it. The immediate reality on the ground. What is the mood among ordinary Syrians today? This is a year after the fall of Assad. Do people still talk about the liberation? Do they see it as a real liberation, or is the mood still a bit more conscious and anxious?
So I think, firstly, I'm actually currently in South Africa. So
Mm,
I'm getting everything secondhand right now because I still have I came down about 10 days ago, and I'm still not yet returned back to Syria, hoping to go back in the next week. And I actually have fear of missing out today because
mm,
I think the celebrations that have been going on, and the happy mood. In fact, even people who have gone to Syria to visit from South Africa, the experiences that they are sending me, the pictures that they are showing me, the videos, and even my friends over there, like it's a very, very joyful mood. In fact, our school year or our working days in Syria is from a Sunday to a Thursday, right? So our weekend is Friday and Saturday, but Sunday and Monday, they've given yesterday and today off. The government has given it off as a public holiday because of the civilians asking that they would like to celebrate today and they don't want to go into work. So it's a very joyful atmosphere, I believe, at the moment. Very, very happy atmosphere. And I think people have been quite surprised overall at the condition of Syria 1 year after the liberation, because I believe when it first happened, there was a lot of anxiousness about how this would go, what it would mean for the general people. And 1 year later, alhamdulillah, I believe most civilians have a lot of hope after everything they've seen within the past year.
Very, very important. Another important aspect, and I think you being involved heavily with humanitarian work in Syria, you'd be really, really close to seeing this. Restoration in itself, for many Syrians, war has meant displacement. It has meant the loss of livelihoods, families, just general trauma. Have you seen meaningful signs of reconstruction, infrastructure repair, and return of those displaced families, and just the restoration of basic services and life returning to some kind of normalcy?
Yes, alhamdulillah. In fact, I believe, generally speaking, whenever a war ends or when a government changes leadership, you tend to have that country go into recession, which alhamdulillah has not been the case with Syria. In fact, over the past year, the financial situation in Syria has actually grown. The Syrian pound has grown, I believe, about 4% over the past year, which is a big thing for Syrian people, especially considering all the sanctions that have been placed on them all these years. In terms of rebuilding and regrowth as well, alhamdulillah, it's really impossible to cover everything that needs to be done, but that has been done. but just to understand, like, it's in most places you go through, most places you travel through or just drive through, you'll see people, alhamdulillah, returning to their homes. You'll see they've taken blankets and just, try to cover up broken parts of their homes while they start building on, other parts of the walls. So general rebuilding has been taking place. Alhamdulillah, we've been trying to gather donations as well to fund this. In fact, last week, alhamdulillah, donations were made over to family members of 5 homes in an area which had been completely ravaged and left to be a ghost town, where family members have come back from other countries because they had completely left the country. So they are slowly returning back to Syria to rebuild as well, alhamdulillah. And not just in terms of rebuilding, but even the general spirit and the comfort that you see that the Syrian people have finally found in a government where over the past 50 years, they've completely lost hope in having any good from the government. Whereas, alhamdulillah, you see them, they show signs of hope and goodwill going forward towards the government. In fact, I believe this morning, the Syrian president gave a speech saying that, obey me as long as I obey Allah, and together we can strengthen this country and rebuild it to what it was before. So there's a lot of hope and inclusiveness for the people. People feel included rather than just, a new government taking over and doing what the previous regime had done. And as well, in terms of the Caesar Act, which they've been trying to get lifted, and alhamdulillah, I believe I read just yesterday that over the next couple of weeks, the US will look at completely dissolving the Caesar Act, which would be a big win for the Syrian people, alhamdulillah, after so many years of having it imposed on them. Over the past 10 months, they've lifted it twice, but they haven't completely dissolved it. But inshallah, we look forward to that happening, although we do know that even going forward, there'll be a lot of eyes on Syria in terms of what is expected from them. But inshallah, slowly, the normal people will be able to see a return to normalcy. In fact, lastly, Damascus, I believe the electricity situation, when I went there about 4 months ago, was only electricity was coming for 1 hour every 5 hours. Every 5 hours it would come for 1 hour. And now I believe it's been restored to 12 hours at a time, and 12 hours on, 12 hours off, alhamdulillah, which is, a change slowly towards the better.
No, most definitely. Maseeha Saloojee, South African humanitarian worker and educator, lived in Syria for some time. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us the time, and always being that link between South Africa and Syria. I think it's always appreciated having you on air.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Assalamu alaikum.
So I'm going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.